and welcome to a Small, Medium, at Large podcast. I'm your host, Gail Heisen, bringing you intimate stories that heal. Hey, how grateful we are that we made it through our first year, have had a lot of people subscribing, wonderful comments, really meeting amazing people that are actually becoming my friends. And I just want to thank you all for supporting us, listening, sharing, and please keep sending those comments. We really enjoy them. Today, we have a very special guest who I actually met on her podcast. And so we had such a wonderful rapport, and she had so many wonderful things to share that I couldn't wait for her to come on our show. And I feel like it's like the beginning of a new and long friendship. And it's a really wonderful thing. I could be in Casablanca right now. But anyhow, let me read you the bio of our guest today. Donna, our guest is Donna Rebadow, who was born in Buffalo, New York. Donna went to undergraduate school at Wayland Baptist University in Plainview, Texas, where she graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology and physical education. Donna was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in the spring of 2019 with all the people who played for Wayland Baptist University women's basketball team between 1948 and 1982. Donna then graduated with a master's in physical education from, it's hard for me to pronounce this, Canisius College in Buffalo, New York. She earned a second master's in acupuncture from the Phoenix Institute of Herbal Medicine and Acupuncture in 2010. In 2012, she received an advanced certificate in sports medicine acupuncture. Donna taught at the community college level in Arizona for 30 years. She opened her own sports medicine acupuncture practice in 2010 that included treating Major League Baseball players, elite and Olympic athletes. In the summer of 1998, Donna had a near-death experience that changed how she viewed herself, the world, and other dimensions. During a meditation in early 2019, she got a download from her guides telling her that she should start a podcast series on exploring consciousness. In her spare time, Donna is expanding her skills in the Native American flute and guitar. Donna has traveled internationally many times and provided humanitarian aid to people in Mexico, China, and Croatia. She has 2 books pending publication. Her autobiography, Who Says I Can't? And Wednesdays with Sadie, Miracles at Maricopa, a book about the life and times of Sadie, a seeing eye dog that she personally trained. So let's welcome Donna here today. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Gail. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate being here.
We really appreciate having you. I enjoyed our talk so much on your show that I couldn't wait till I got to have you on my show. So
yes,
I'd like to start often with a little bit of just the past. I don't know if there's anything you want to mention about your childhood that might have led you down the paths you're on. And if so, if you could share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, I'm one of 7, middle child. And so a lot of times middle children are left to their own devices.
I'm a middle child too.
So yeah, I was going to say, about that. So I think having, as a kid, talking with and seeing my guardian angels or guides prepared me for what was to come. In fact, everything in my life that I've done was all prepared in my childhood, from adventures to my guides to volunteer services. My dad started us off. I went with him. I couldn't do any volunteering until I was 16. And once I was 16, I went volunteering with him on the American Red Cross. So all the humanitarian stuff that I've done. I'm also a pilot. My dad was wanting to be a pilot. My uncle was the manager of the Buffalo airport. So I think flying was in my blood. So I'm a pilot.
Wow.
So all these things in my childhood, I think, prepared me for my adulthood, but I didn't know that as a kid. So those are the kinds of things. I had parents that, my mom and dad That was their first marriage. They never got divorced. So having a steady parents in my life and having adventures, going up to Canada when we were kids, made for all this thing to happen.
Do you still fly today?
I don't. I actually sold my airplane and I used the money to take care of some people that needed some help, of course.
Well, if you ever come out to visit us, which I'm hoping you do, we have a lovely guest room. It's funny, I'm finding all these things in common with you. My first husband, Arthur, who I'm still very close with, he has the highest educational ratings in aeronautics of
Oh my goodness.
3 people in the world or something that have the
Wow.
kind of accomplishments. And he has a lot of airplanes out here in Santa Rosa. And he's been teaching now. He's in his 70s and he's still teaching. And his most favorite story was about five years ago or so. He had a student that had always wanted to be a pilot, and he was 85 years old.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
passed with flying colors. And that was his favorite, student story. But he also taught our daughter to fly. So she takes us on flights sometimes. I'm personally afraid of flying. But I got used to it when he began that career more than 45 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, I love to fly. I can't wait. My dream is to have a flying car. I've been kind of
Oh,
watching the development of that technology. So there's a couple of flying cars that I got my eye on, one in France and one in Germany. So we'll see how that goes.
well, and if you watch Harry Potter, you can see a pretend flying car.
Need to
Who
do
knows?
that.
Well, maybe you could just fly over here in your car and visit us.
I would love to do that.
So now tell me about what happened to you in 1998.
Yeah, I was vacationing with my family. We were up in the Adirondacks in New York, and we'd been out fishing in the morning. I loved, as a kid going up to Canada, I loved to fish. We went fishing. And then since we were on vacation, we decided that let's in the afternoon do watercraft sports. So this boat was a boat that could be used for fishing and water sports. So we were on a device called the Bullet, and it's not a water skiing, but you use the boat and a tow rope, and it hooks onto this inflatable toy called the Bullet. And my sister and I got on it, and they spin you around the lake. And so it's a lot of fun. You're on the back of this inflatable toy and you're going over the waves, and we're laughing and talking, and you get knocked off and you got to get back on. And what happened was we got back on and we were floating away from the boat, getting ready to rev up the motor and go around again. And my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, yelled, "Get off the Bullet, the boat is sinking." And that was like physically impossible. And we're like, "What? The boat? That boat can't sink. It's really it's got some types of devices that keep it from sinking." So he yelled, "Get off the Bullet." So I looked behind me to see where my sister was going to throw the rope, and she throws it to the left. So I roll off the Bullet into the water on the right, and I can feel her rolling in the water with me. We have our life jackets on. And I looked down, and the Bullet had gotten in between the sight line between my brother-in-law and us. He said he couldn't see us to see if, but he knew we were off the Bullet. What he didn't know, and what none of us knew, is I looked down and the tow rope it's physically impossible, Gail, for this to have happened. The tow rope floated back toward me, and it can't sink, but it sunk a tow rope. It's this nylon rope.
Right, they
And
float on top of the
they
water.
float on the top of the water, and it was down around my leg. And I looked and I said, well, that's physically impossible. Then I heard the boat start up, and I realized what was about to happen. And I took a big gulp of air, and the boat took off, and that tow rope strangled my leg to the bone right above the knee. I mean, I never felt such pain in my life. And now I'm being drug underwater. And it's a powerful boat, and they're trying to get to the shore because the boat's sinking. They have a baby on board, and I am drowning. I am just taking in all this water. And a lot of things went through my head, like I have 5 college degrees and I don't know how to get out of this situation. What good is all that education? So
They
I'm
didn't
going,
teach
oh my,
that in school.
they didn't teach us. I'm going to get out of this. Then the second thing that went through my mind is, where are they going to have the funeral? Because I'm drowning. They don't know I'm there. And I said, are they going to have it in New York or Arizona? That's what I'm thinking. Where are they going to have the funeral? And I'm just hanging out, I'm going to die. I'm drowning. And I was like, okay, well, nothing I can do. And next thing I know, I'm floating kind of up and out of my body, but I don't know that. I have this sensation of leaving my body. And I'm like, what's going on? As soon as it happened, I went through this kind of veil that actually felt physical, saran wrap kind of veil. I go through this thing. And even though I'm dead and I don't have a body, it felt like I did. So when I talk about my near death, I tell people I'm going to talk about, I saw things and heard things, even though I know I don't have a body. So I go through this veil and I felt this difference between time and eternity. And I go, oh, wherever I am, there's no time here. And what that taught me was there's no words or vocabulary to teach people here what it was like on the other side. But on the other side, there's no time. It's this weird kind of thing. Then the next thing was all my cells in my body, even though my body was back drowning, I go, I know where they all are in my body. And so it's with me. And all of my cells are laughing. And I look down and I go, what are you guys doing? what are you laughing at? And they're smiling. And as I start to look up, I realize the reason they're so happy is we're about to meet the creator of the universe. So I look up, and this energy source that looks like the aurora borealis, this big energy frequency, electrical green aurora pops up from the other side of the planet. And I go, oh my God, I'm in front of the creator of the universe. And then all kinds of things started breaking loose and happening. And that was, I started getting information downloads through my brain that were like hyper telepathy, because telepathy would be like me thinking of something and you getting that thought. But this was like concepts. So when this concept came in, it immediately exploded in my brain and I understood everything. So it's like the creator going, I'm the creator of the universe. And then I say back, even though I'm not talking, it's telepathic. I go, oh my God, you're the creator of the universe. Oh my God. Then the creator of the universe uses my real name, not Donna, but my real name. And I just felt this love in my heart that no one can understand on this earth, like the love that you have for a husband or your parents or, anybody is pale in comparison to the love that's being shot through my body. And all this knowledge coming in through my head this way and love being shot through my body this way. And I'm in awe, I'm awestruck. I'm having this unbelievable experience. I'm getting all this information about how things work and how things are organized. And I'm just in awe. And I'm saying, oh my God, you're the creator of the universe. You know everything. And as I'm saying it, I hear back, I even know the number of grains of sand on a beach in New Zealand. I'm immediately shot down to a beach on New Zealand, and my eye in the sand, I got this grain of sand that I'm looking, and I immediately knew the number of grains of sand on this beach in New Zealand. And then I got shot back up, and we're having this lovely conversation. And as we're talking, I'm seeing angels and dimensions and all this information. And I knew off to my right that there was another veil or something. And I knew if I crossed that boundary, I wasn't coming back. So I'm kind of like, I'm like almost dead. I mean, I'm dead, but I'm not quite dead enough to not come back. I'm pre-dead. And I know this line is going to be, I'm dead. I'm not coming back. So I'm trying to stay away from that line. I'm just sitting there, we're talking. And then all of a sudden, the creator of the universe says to me, well, what do you want to do here? And so, as in psychology in the 1970s, we did something called active listening. In active listening, you say back to the person what you think they're saying. So here's what I do with the creator of the universe. He says, well, what do you want to do here? And I say back, so is what you're asking me is you want to know if I want to live or die? He's like laughing. It's like, yeah, dummy. Of course. So we're laughing. And what I said next kind of surprised me because I didn't know how I was going to answer. And I said this, Gail, I said, since you created me, I give the choice to you. As soon as I said that, I realized I now no longer have a choice. I gave it to God, I gave it to the creator of the universe. And as soon as I said that, I did this. Honest to God, you're going to laugh. I go, oh, shit. I looked to the left and went, oh, shit. Meaning, I didn't have a choice.
You could have made
What am I doing? Then I realized I said, oh, shit, in front of the creator of the universe. And then I went, oh, God. So, what are you doing? Oh, my God. So people say, well, you did have a choice. You gave it to God. You gave you choice. And I said, well, yeah, it's like having a box of candy. And I say, Gail, which one do you want? And you go, I don't know, Donna, you choose. You don't know what's going to happen next. So that's what was happening to me. I'm sitting there going, oh, no, I gave my choice away. And then, because there's no time over there, I can't tell you, it felt like a second, 3 seconds, a universe of time. I just was waiting. And it was like I heard, you will go back and tell people about choice and surrender. As you've surrendered, you've given it away. And then 2, the importance of choice in the human being. And what it did to me was every moment that I live, have been back on earth and I'm in this body, I'm very aware of every choice, every thought I have. Since the time I came back, it was like, I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware of time. I'm very aware of people. It's all these kinds of things happened to me after that. But so it was like, you're going to tell people about surrender, what it means to surrender. And then you're going to tell people about how important their choice is, how they think, every choice they make about, like, if I'm in the grocery store and I see someone, I'm going to have a thought, right? Just what human beings do. I go, oh, look at that lady, look at a pretty dress, or whatever I think. I'm very aware of that thought and making sure that it's out of love, that it's not out of judgment or out of, I can't go through my life making those kinds of thought judgments. I can't do it. I'm very aware of it. And another thing I've never talked about, when I've never told anybody this, what I'm about to say next is like being aware of these choices, is they say, did you have a life review? When you died, did you have a life review? I said, no, I didn't have a life review, but when I'm back here, I have a life review with each person I meet, or I can sit there and I think about my interactions with my best friend. All of a sudden this thought will come in. It'll be a life review about how I've treated people in those situations. So I've had a life review since coming back. So my whole life is a life review. And so as I'm waiting for all this, I felt like I was being held up in space, like I was being tethered in the universe. Because what happened next was when I said, I give the choice to you, and all this time went past and I'm getting all this information about choices, I felt untethered, like released. And I felt like I was falling back to earth and snapped into my body. But on the way down, I heard this. Good answer. I was like, what? And I snapped back into my body and I'm drowning, I'm dead, so I snap back and the boat stops. I know I'm going to live, but I've swallowed all this water. I'm going to the surface and I felt human hands under my arms lifting me up, and I thought it was my sister. the rope comes undone, because I'm thinking, how are they going to get the rope? It's, it's
Your
embedded
leg.
in my leg. How are they going to get it undone? The rope comes undone. And I asked some of my colleagues at the college, the physicists, can that have happened? They said, no, it was embedded in your leg, and they did the math, the speed of the boat, my weight, they did the whole thing. Said that rope couldn't have come undone. It came undone. I get to the surface. I thought it was my sister's hands. I got up there. There's no one around. And I start spitting out all this water. My sister sees all this, and she's like swimming like 100 miles an hour to try to get to me. And she gets there, and I go, don't look at my leg. Don't look at my leg. I thought it was amputated. But I grabbed, so I look down and I see that it strangled my leg to the bone. So my thigh is only the same space as my bone. And so I grabbed my calf, because I thought if I kicked my calf, my bottom part of my leg would fall into the lake. And I wanted to have it with me.
You don't want to leave anything behind. I mean,
reattach it.
Right.
So I grabbed my calf, and I said, don't look at my leg. And she saw my leg. My brother-in-law, meanwhile, they got to the shore. They found another boat that came out and got me, and I got rescued. But what it left me with was this terrible mangled leg. I now have an artificial knee, but it's still, I never know if I'm going to keep it every year. And I'm like, how are you doing, leg? Makes it hard to fly, but I can still fly. So that's my story.
Well, that's quite a story. And your sister she didn't get tied up in anything, so she was just swimming, just trying to save you.
Yeah, she didn't. She actually, there's a part of the story I don't tell, is that when she came swimming up to me, the bullet came back on us before my brother-in-law took off. He said he felt a hand on his shoulder, tapped him, and he looked back and he saw that there was something funny going on with the bullet in the water. So he stopped the boat. That's what allowed me to get to the surface.
Oh.
And so when the boat came undone, it came back around my sister's hand. And so I looked over, I knew if he took off, it would have ripped my sister's hand and shoulder, arm off. And I yelled, and this is the first I felt like I really had an increase in psychic ability, because I looked at the rope and I yelled, no, with everything inside me, and that rope went flying off her hand.
Wow.
It just took off. And then the boat started and they went back. So that's the only time she got caught up. But she said, I asked her, how long was I gone? We don't know how long I was gone. It felt like I was gone for years, or, we didn't know. She said she was watching her husband kill her sister. So it's still a traumatic event for my sister. And of course, my brother-in-law. And when I go back to Buffalo, I can't wear shorts. He can't see my leg.
Oh, yeah.
If he sees my leg, he starts crying and leaving the room and freaking out. And I said, it's okay. It's attached. I have it,
Well, it's all loving family. So you were surrounded by loving people, and that was all the other parts of the connections of each other together. And we won't go into much more of this. I experienced near death also, giving birth to my daughter.
Yes, your daughter.
It's wonderful to share those stories, because you find that people have very similar kind of experiences and feelings. And the one I think that's the most important that we talked about today is that there is no time in that space, and that you think you have that's when you have to realize that time is some linear thing, but that's not where you just went to. You went to a place where time does not exist.
I went to things that they teach you in school. I mean, there's things over there. There's no concepts for things that happen over there that don't happen on Earth. So you can't talk about it. It's
But when you talk about it amongst other people who've had it, there's such a good feeling. Like, I just feel like, oh, when I'm listening to it, I mean, I'm so glad you're alive, and I'm so glad, you came back. But when I'm listening to it, I'm really there with you, understanding what you feel. And that's why it's so important for us to share these stories, whether it's podcasts or somebody you meet in the store, just to let them know, because it can take away a fear for someone else or make them more prepared if they end up having a near-death experience.
yeah.
I want to jump from this to Is this before, because I'm thinking this is about 24 years ago, 1998.
98.
And was this then what kind of put you towards the acupuncture and healing arts, or had you already been doing all that?
No, that's a really, really interesting thing. No, acupuncture came from my best friend and I were going to school. We were working on our doctorates in education. And so I'm going to school with this really good friend of mine. I work with her, she's a good friend of mine. She got breast cancer. And we still were going to school, and ends up she's getting a summer cough, and ended up being the cancer came back. And eventually she passed away from breast cancer. And it was so devastating to me. I told my friend, I'm not going back to school. I'm never gonna, don't have me in a classroom again, because this is what I associate with my friend Cindy. And so again, the love I have in my communities and groups. They said, no, Donna, you gotta go back and finish your doctorate. I don't. I said, okay, tell you what, if I go back to school, it's going to be far away from educational leadership as possible. So one of those friends came to me and had a pack of information about acupuncture and throws it on the desk and says, is acupuncture far away? Is that enough? That's far enough. Let's go to acupuncture school. Okay.
And you're still doing that today, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, because I was teaching, I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get a master's in acupuncture. It's only about 10 classes. I can actually help some of my students. If any of them want to become an acupuncturist, I can tell them what it was like. What I didn't know, it was not 10 classes, it was 60. And it wasn't 1 year, it was 4 years. But I was already taking classes, and I went, oh my God, what am I doing? So I got my master's, and then I said, well, if I'm doing this, and I'm a sports athlete person, I want to find out, do they do much with sports medicine? And I found a program in California. That was another 2 years and another certificate. That's okay. Because after that, after the drowning, my life became a flow.
Mhm.
So my life is flowing. So whatever opportunities and things come up, I just go, yeah, okay, let's do this. Yeah. So my guide dog work, being a chaplain, being a pilot, you saw my resume, all that stuff I do.
Yes. And just for our listeners, the resume was 6 or 7 pages. And so we did have a little condensed version, but this woman has accomplished an incredible amount of things, and many of them doing with helping others. And that's such an important thing, because the service of being here is, I believe, to help others and ourselves to grow and to heal. And I know from our talk on your show that you've also done some amazing healing with people, that acupuncture is your form, but I believe you're also truly a healer. It's not just you putting needles into the right spot of another person. You're doing something else other than just putting those needles. And I was wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about what that's like for you to, I think one of the stories you told me was that you were asked to come and do acupuncture with the sports people in the Olympics, one of your dreams, and that you actually said, no, I can't go as much as I want to, because I'm working on a patient right now who really needs me. And you put his care and his health above your dream. And that's a real healer's words. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that amazing thing.
You asked me, my mom had books in our house as a kid on Edgar Casey and Ruth Montgomery, and I'm near Lilydale, New York. So that was always in my background. I was always interested in healing, but I wasn't actually doing a practice, but I was doing meditations for people, and I didn't realize I was healing for like 20 years. I didn't know that. It wasn't until I did the acupuncture that I actually was now putting hands on people. So yeah, I was with my basketball. My dream was to play basketball in the Olympics. I got invited by the nation of Japan to play for them. I got invited by the nation of Canada to play for them, but I wanted to play for my home country. And didn't get that, but I did go to, as a spectator, I saw the Olympics in Lake Placid. I saw the Olympics in Barcelona, and I saw the Olympics in Atlanta. But working with the USA bobsled, two ladies in USA bobsled knew of my background as being a professional athlete in women's softball and being in the Hall of Fame for basketball. They knew that I was one of the pioneers before Title IX, women breaking down barriers for women. So they appreciated what I had done to put them in a position to be women bobsled drivers. I don't always agree with what they thought, but okay. So yeah, it's a pioneer. And they had asked me to come on the World Cup tour with them. And so I did that. And when it came to time to go to the Olympics in Beijing, one of them called me up and said, okay, we can do this now, because they tried in Pyeongchang and didn't quite make it to Pyeongchang, but this time they said, Beijing, come. And by then I had said yes to a patient. I moved to Denver to work with this person, a good friend of mine.
That's a beautiful thing you are.
So I had my house in Phoenix, but I moved and bought a house in Denver to be with this person every day. This person has ALS, and I just couldn't think of anything better than to needle this person every single day. This is someone that has been given a life sentence, progressive, deteriorating. There's not a really good prognosis. And so I'm doing this and I'm committed to this. In fact, I'm in my house in Denver. And so when the call came to go to Beijing, I went, oh man, my whole life I wanted to be in the Olympics. And I had to say, I love you dearly. I appreciate the offer. I can't go because I can't go. I have to be with this person every day. So this person was diagnosed a year ago, was told they'd be in leg braces, they'd be in a wheelchair by last Christmas, and no leg braces. At Christmas, he was up on his roof with the lights, and he said, don't do that. Just don't do that. So a couple of weeks ago, his neurologist they had an appointment. The neurologist came in and says, we don't know what to do with you because you've gotten better and stronger, and ALS patients don't get better and stronger. And that was the greatest gift I could have heard. I mean, that was like, so this person's still working. They work every day, no braces, no wheelchair. Getting better and stronger to me is miraculous. So yes. That's kind of what I do.
That's and when you do that work, do you feel that it's you that's sending this healing, or do you feel there's some higher force, or what do you feel actually happens, because you're getting incredible results that are being documented by them going to a doctor regularly and stating, I don't know what you're doing, but you're getting better and better, and that's not the route of this ALS.
No.
So what do you feel is going on when you're doing this? Because I know it's not just needles.
Not just needles. So people ask me about Reiki, and I don't know about Reiki, but I do know about being on the other side. And I have a list. People from around the world call me and email me and ask me to be, can I please be put on your healing list? And I said, yeah, you betcha. Just, if you give me your name, then I have permission. And you don't have to tell me what it is, but if you want to, that's fine. And so I have this big, thick book. Keep adding to it. And when I go into meditation, I go to the other side. I'm with my healers. I'm with in dimensions and with people that I met on the other side. And we just gather up and we go through the list, and they are doing their healing on people. And so, no, it's not me. I feel like I'm a conduit. What I feel like is that I'm just, this feeling. You're there, but you're more of a, you open your heart. And I just feel the energy coming down through my head, out my arms, into their bodies. And I just, feel like I'm a conduit, I guess.
Well, this is wonderful, wonderful work you're doing. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I had never thought about the fact that you're working with other healing guides has to add strength of that, how wonderful that is.
Yeah.
And I believe in this work. So I believe everything you're telling me to be true.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any agenda to lie to
No.
people, because I know what the consequences are. You know, it's not like you're here in secret. You know,
So
it's not a
I
secret here.
wanted to jump from that. I got my little list here of things I wanted to make sure we covered.
Okay.
I just wonder if we could just talk a couple minutes about your humanitarian work. And then I'd love to jump into the possibility of our listeners and maybe our viewers seeing some spoon bending, and I'll talk about that. But I first want to get a little bit about your humanitarian, because I've done my own things, but they've never been through an organization. So it's just been me going and bringing food and clothing, or giving money for somewhere here, or helping someone I've never met, or like I've sent books to Romania to some child's family who I've never met that was going to share the books with other kids because they can't get books. So I just do what I call little things, but I feel that they're still good, wonderful things, but they've never been like with an organization or where somebody takes you to it's just been my own things. So,
well, first of all, I want to thank you for that work, Gail. You're singing my praises, but I'd like people to hear me sing yours. The stuff that Gail does out of the bottom of her heart, and her whole life is a testimony to the beautiful heart that she is. And so she might know and be able to connect with what I do. It's only because of the amount of love that she has in her heart. So I wanted to make sure that was said, Gail.
That's very, very sweet of you. And
well,
I'm going to try and say thank you and take it in instead of saying, what did she say?
Yeah, you can listen to it later. But
Okay.
yeah, I started in high
us.
school. Like I said, bringing aid to the American Red Cross for mostly around people's homes that were burned, because our house burned when I was 4. And my dad saw the outpouring of people in Buffalo to help our family. So he started doing relief with the Red Cross. So I started there. And then I did inner city work as a high school kid. There was something called Project Understanding, and it was a bridge between the inner city of Buffalo and the suburbs. And it was high school kids coming together in like bringing food or bringing understanding. Like we would go into the inner city and find out, how do you live? What are your needs? And they would come to our place and say, how did you get where you got? How do you save money? How do you organize as a community? So we did that. And then all through college, with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I started a chapter on my college campus to work with training seeing eye dogs, being a hospital chaplain. I don't work. I'm kind of like you, where someone would say, we're going on a trip to Croatia. Would you go with us? I said, yeah, but I want to bring some aid. So I had everybody buy duffel bags, and we went around and we got people to donate clothing for the orphanages and medicine. And everybody that went with us had to bring the duffel bags. And we had 3 stops where we gave clothes and medicine that we were doing as our group. And then in China, I went over to study for acupuncture, and it was at the time of the Sichuan earthquake. In fact, I was in Croatia, I got a call saying, you better get back to the United States because we don't know what's happening in China. So I had to run back to the United States, pick up my aid, pick up my stuff to go to China. So I studied, and we were bringing some relief for the earthquake victims in Sichuan. And then friends of mine said, the Mayan Indians in southern New Mexico, north of Guatemala, aren't getting much help with laptops for their college education. So I organized a laptop project. And yeah, the government, if they hear this, yeah, I smuggled laptops into Mexico because we tried to go through the correct channels, and it was getting closer to the time we were leaving. So we just smuggled in, I don't know how many laptops for the Mayan students. And so stuff like that I've been doing. Training seeing eye dogs, stuff like that.
That's really wonderful. And I have to say, I went and got myself a special ministers paper from a group called the Science of Thought Church, because I'm not any particular religious following of any nature, but it really, when you want to go to other countries and do help, doing it through a religious group is often the easiest and best way to go. And it gave me a little bit of help going through customs. And I gave them a list. So it gave me something that was sort of like, well, she has sort of a credential in giving things away.
Instead of smuggling like I do.
Yeah, well, no, I'm sure I did some of that too.
Yeah, I got my minister's license this year too.
It was the Philippines when I was going to meet
nice.
What ended up being my future son's dad. I went to meet their family, and that was in the days of VHS.
Yes.
And there were certain films they could not get in the Philippines. And I smuggled those in.
Don't listen to us. We're not really smuggled.
It was only 1 or 2 VHSs.
Yeah, only 12 laptops. Come on.
So let's move on now to our last segment of our show here today, which I think is going to be the most fun. I have to share with our listeners that while I was on the show of Donna, I had no idea that she was a spoon bender. And so before we start with directions or information, I really want to hear the story of how you became a spoon bender, because I found it fascinating. And that I want our listeners to know that I thought I was so cool because my fork was bent around twice in the one time when I was at the Jack Huck spoon bending party, until I meet Donna. And now I feel like my fork is poo-poo, nothing, just 2 bends and some bending. She does 4 bends. I've never seen anything like her work. So when I tell you I am sharing the most incredible spoon bender I've ever met, and I've met quite a few of them, bend steel, bend this, that, I have never met a Donna that does this kind of bending. So I'm gonna pass this over to her now to tell us how she got involved, why she did, and then she's gonna give us some instructions. So if you want to take a second and grab a spoon in your own house and try to do this with us, I am going to join her in that. I'm not promising I'll be able to bend anything because I've only done my 1 fork, but she sent me these spoons, so I feel they have special vibes on them. And let's hear what she says about spoon bending.
Well, since my near death, I'm exploring consciousness, trying to understand what I experienced, what it was on the other side. Were there families of people that had near death? And I got associated, someone told me about the Monroe Institute in Virginia. And they are world renowned for consciousness studies. And I started going to their programs, the Gateway program, Lifelines, Guidelines programs, MC Squared. So you can take all these programs, and MC Squared, manifestation, and I can't remember what the C stands for, squared. They teach you how to spoon bend, how to turn on fluorescent light bulbs in your hands, how to roll dice. They teach us these little psychic things. And I found that I'm really, really good at 2 things. I'm really good at rolling dice, and I'm really, really good at spoon bending. So I have to tell you, my trip to Vegas with my teacher, we'll tell you about that later, but spoon bending. So I didn't know what this was. And they tell you to pick up a spoon and hold it at the bend. And then what they did was they all started yelling, bend, bend, bend. And then they took their hands and started to bend it. And I realized I don't like to yell. I don't like to yell. I mean, I'll yell at a basketball game. I'm not yelling at this poor spoon. And so I was feeling bad for the spoon. So I started talking to it. I go, okay, well, spoon, if you want to bend, let me know. And they said, when you hold it in your hand. So the movie, The Matrix, where they said there is no spoon. Well, there is a spoon, So I would kind of like Uri Geller, you rub it. So what I do is, and I think I had the advantage of being a healer and an acupuncturist, because I'm used to having that energy run through my body. And so I just kind of open my heart and let it happen. So when I go to spoon bend, I do the same process. people say, what are you thinking? I said, I'm really not thinking of anything but opening my heart and allowing this energy to come through. So I started doing that, and it goes, when you feel it, it's just like a regular spoon. But if you hold it and you have those thoughts, when you go to do this, you can start bending it, because the metal changes. And so you can feel it kind of bending. And I can't bend it without using my hands. So I kind of let it heat up, and I just start bending it and let it do whatever it does. And so most of the time I try not to think about it when I'm bending. So I'm just kind of just bending it. And so I can feel it heat up, and ask it, which way do you want it to go? And so it just
Tremendous.
starts bending. And I kind of talk to it, and then you feel it. Like right now, I know you can't feel it, but it was hot, now it's cold. Now if I try to bend it, it really doesn't do much. It doesn't,
Right.
can't do
And
that.
the thing like I found with my fork is I can't unbend it. No matter how hard you try, it doesn't go
Yeah.
back to the way you wanted.
Yeah.
And
So when I
that
did
one is
when I did this fork, I'm not sure. I at the time I didn't write what I was doing, but I know I was talking to someone, and I wasn't really paying attention. I could just feel this energy run through me, and I'm talking to them, and just kind of twisting things around, and they go, "What are you doing?" I don't know the shape yet, so I go, "Well, I'm bending my fork," and these tines wanted to go this way. The two middle ones wanted to cross, and so it ends up kind of looking like that.
that's unbelievable.
And
And as
so,
I understand, you've done hundreds of these.
yeah, I got a couple hundred.
And what was there? There was a rule that I think you said, which I had never heard. And then I heard someone else say that same. Oh, no, I spoke to Russell about it, my
Okay.
friend Russell Targ. And I said, yeah, she was this amazing lady. And I was on her show. And I said, I was so happy with because I was with Russell when I did MD, when I did my fork bending, and they examined it and said, yes, that's the real thing. And I was so proud that I did it twice. And I said to him, but she did it 4 times, Russell, 4.
What did he
And
say?
he said the same thing as you. You don't use silverware from your home, and you
Okay.
don't use silverware from a restaurant.
Right.
And I'd never heard anyone but you say that. And then he said the same thing. I said, oh, this must be in the knowledge of spooning I didn't know about.
Well, I can't use it at my house, because then my family will be like, you don't pick up that fork. So people say, well, how do you use your utensils? I turn off that energy. I don't open my heart. I don't, I try to just shield my poor utensils from. But when I went to this restaurant one time, and I wasn't paying attention. It was a buffet.
Oh my God, look, it's doing it.
See, there you go. Don't even think about it. Just do it. Do it. Keep spinning. As you're talking, just keep spinning, keep going, keep
You're
going,
my
keep going,
spinning
keep going,
maven. Look at this. Oh my
keep going,
God.
keep going until it stops. Keep going. And you don't do
That's
it with
it.
forks. There you go. Look at it.
I don't know. Can you see
Yeah,
that? Oh my
look
God.
at
I
it.
did it up with you online live. I can't explain the excitement that happens when that happens. Oh, and look now, I can't bend it back.
Nice. It goes solid. It's kind of it's
It's very tight.
solid.
It's like a tight
Good.
twirl.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, you're
I'm
really
not.
something. I have not done this since this fork, and now, now I have a match. Now I have a set. I can have dinner and soup.
Yeah, Gail said put them out at the table for my family. Can you imagine showing up at my house and trying to eat your pasta? Or your
I,
soup spoon.
I really did not believe I would be able to do that again like that.
Hey, yes, of
And
course.
then I said, but with Donna, something will happen. And then it makes you feel like you want to keep bending.
Yes.
It's
So
seems
I
like
have
it's a
them.
physical showing of something that's going on.
Well, what's helpful in acupuncture is when they ask me, how does it work, or what are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing 2 things. I'm working on your physical body with a physical needle, but behind that is energy. And so we're all energy. If you look at quantum mechanics or quantum physics and you take, so when I fly my airplane, I have to know about Newtonian physics or the macro world. I have to understand how you get lift out of an aircraft. And so Newton's third law of motion, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I have to know all of that to fly my airplane. But when it comes to acupuncture, it's not on the macro level, it's on the micro level. You have to go and open up, have a microscope and look way down at this to see inside the molecular structure. You have to take a microscope and look at the atoms. And so it's very abstract to my patients. So I said, look, I'm going to be using energy to help move that healing along. And so just like the wind, you can't see it, but you can see the effects of the wind. You can't see energy, but you can see the effects of energy. So mostly when I do my acupuncture, I'll have a spoon with me and I'll say, look, you try it, you bend it. Okay, you can't. Okay, now I'm going to open my heart. I'm going to have the energy rush in and I'm going to show you what energy looks like when that happens. And they can see the results of that. And I said, well, when I work on you or I heal you, it's that same energetic force that we're using. Mine just happens to come from other dimensions or other worlds, which I probably don't tell them.
Mhm.
I should probably just say, look, here's what energy can do, you know. So it's real, it's a real force, and you can really help people with it. I'm so excited that you got to speak. What's the fork doing? What's the fork doing?
I've got this with the fork going. I haven't, I don't
This
know if
one's
I
a
have.
little bit harder, and it helps if you have
Oh,
different.
I broke it in half.
Okay, so you have to learn how to control your energy.
Yes.
So
I've
well, now
never
I
done
can't.
that before. Sorry, fork. But
Sorry,
I'm so
fork.
glad that you
Sorry.
sent me 8 total
Yes,
utensils.
sent you that. For me, it's easier to do a spoon than a fork.
Mhm.
But the when you're really in the zone, the fork can turn out, I think, much more remarkable. So I don't use a fork in the clinic to show people. I always demo with a spoon. What's interesting is I started bending the fork when you started talking, and when you laughed and said, "Oh, I broke it," my energy stopped. This is as far as I got. I can't really move it any further than that. So it started to twist and move and got pliable. But I got excited when you got excited and everything stopped. So now this one will just kind of stay like that.
I didn't separate it, but I broke it completely in half.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I
So
don't know if that's not part of bending. I don't think you're supposed to break. You're supposed to
that's
bend.
another so what I tell people is that like I've broken them, and you can break them by two things. Force. So when people take them and look at that, and they break them by force, or in your energy, when you have too much energy for whatever size or strength, tensile strength is in the spoon, is that you can end up you know, breaking them. So what I try to do is just not even pay attention. So this
Right.
is
Well,
so
it
hot.
looks
This is
effortless.
so
It
hot.
doesn't look
I
like
got
you
to be
managed.
careful that I'm, so a lot of times I'll ask the spoon, which way do you want to bend? Which way do you want to? It's really tremendously hot. I wonder if I can bend the bowl. No, okay, can't bend the bowl. I just don't. It's
That's
getting
when
close
I
to
was, Dean
stopping.
Radin wanted me to stand next to him when he was doing his first bend. And that's exactly how his bowl went down this way.
Yeah,
Yes, 3 times around.
three
His
times
went
around. And
like this, where he took his, I was standing there
yeah,
with him, he just went like this, and the
yes,
bowl
it
just
melts over.
right in half.
I was doing a demo with a friend of mine, and I had a thicker spoon. And I'm talking to her and I wasn't paying attention to the spoon. And I'm telling her, this is how you think, this is how you feel. And that spoon, which was one of my thicker ones, just bent over like that, because I'm talking to her and I'm looking at her face, because her face is going from, okay, I'm really listening to what you're saying, to, is that what I'm really saying, to the eyes. And I looked at the spoon and it bent straight over. I didn't touch it. And I went, oh, that's never happened.
That's actually often a question I hear where people say, do you actually physically hold the spoon? And I said, yes. And I don't know anything about molecules or anything, but when I did it that first time, I said it felt like molecules were jumping around, and there was
Yeah,
a moment where metal turned into liquid, and
yes,
it
that's what it
became
feels like.
liquid, and that was how I could do it in that moment. But I had a little old lady sitting behind me who knew nothing about this, and she was just holding the spoon, and it just bent over just like that. So I believe that it's true that there are two ways that this can be done. It can be done with, like the one you just said, where it just happened,
Yeah,
and
just
then the other where we're actually
where you
physically.
actually physically. Yeah. So I've only done one spoon that I never touched, and that was when I was talking to my friend. It bent straight over. I don't think I have that.
And listeners,
I don't
just
think I
so
have
you
that.
know, lots of people send spoons to Donna so she can bend them.
Because they know the rules. I can't bend my family's
Right?
stuff. I was going to this restaurant and I wasn't paying attention. It was a buffet. And I had my spoon up here, just kind of walking through, just kind of like, oh, what do I want? What do I want? And I looked up. Oh, I guess it was the second time. It was bent straight over. And I went, oh my God. I get to the table and I had to show my family. I go, I didn't mean to do this. Bent over. And then they made the restaurant rule. Can't bend in a restaurant. So I went to the manager of the restaurant and I said, look, I found this spoon. And they're like, oh my God, give me that spoon. Where did you find it? And I go, oh, no. I just was wondering, can I take it home? Like, yeah. Don't show that.
You're a very
Tell them I
honest
said,
person. I probably would have just put it in my purse.
didn't, didn't want to do that. He was like, do you mind? She goes, oh my God. What?
So
So I do that to show people, one, the possibilities, like to not get so caught up in your head in a box about what are the possibilities of what's happening on this earth, but to be open to possibilities, to be open to the fact that you can be healed through energy, you can be healed through whatever, however you want to say that. And I'll ask people when they ask about can they be on my healing list, I said, just do me a favor, contact me once a month and let me know how it's going. And the reason for that is they have to participate in it. So just like my ALS person, and I teach them how to take care of themselves. I teach them things that they can do. If you're one of my patients, you have to be involved in your healing. It's not just, you can't be passive. If you're passive, I stop doing things, because it's got to be, it's your life. I'm helping you. Just like students, when I was a professor for 30 years, I said, I'll meet you halfway, but I'm not doing your homework.
right,
You don't
right.
get an A for effort, but I'll help you. But you got to meet me halfway. And I feel the same way about patients and people. And, you can't be passive, hoping that Donna, it puts your name on a list and you automatically get healed. Now, sometimes that's happened. People go, oh my God, I go, okay. But yeah, this is a participatory life that you need to be in. And you can't compare yourself to others. You can't say, like Gail said, she's only got these 2 spoons and Donna has 100. And you guys can't, don't really do that, because you got to understand, they go, well, you guys can do it, but I can't. Well, as soon as you say you can't, you're going to be right. But if you say to yourself, I'm open to the possibility of opening my heart and trying this, and being an athlete, I got to where I was as an athlete by practice. I had to participate in practice. I had to participate in my skills. I had to do things to make these skills. So that's kind of what you have to do here. You participate in your health, participate in spoon bending, take classes like Gail said. You can come to our podcasts. But if you just kind of, just realize from this point on, participate in your life. Just make decisions about growing up or doing things or getting skills. And don't compare where you are on the timeline, because it makes no difference. Because you're going to be evolving through millions of lifetimes. So wherever you are in this lifetime, You come back. I know if you don't believe in reincarnation, that's okay. Just suspend it for a minute. Just suspend your belief in reincarnation. Say you can come back. Say there's a possibility of you coming back. So if I die today and I have this set of skills that I've done in this lifetime and I come back in my next one, I bring that evolution with me in my next life. So there's never pressure on you to get it all done at once. Although if you look at my resume, you would think
You think you might be an overachiever?
you think I might be an overachiever and trying to get everything done in one life. It's just I just enjoy
And
learning and go
like
ahead.
you said, not to compare, but when I read it, I said, oh my God, what could I?
Don't. Because I don't have a I mean, I don't have kids, Gail. You have a husband and children. Because people ask me, what haven't you done? I said, I've never had someone look up at me and call me mom.
Mm.
Do you know what that feels like? I mean, I'll never know what that feels like for someone to call me mom. And so that's a precious, precious gift. Now I have people look
No,
up at
no,
me.
you're still alive. And
Yeah, well,
that doesn't mean,
okay.
I had someone ask me to be their mom who is 19 years old and lives in the mountains of
Yes,
Mexico. So you
yeah,
just don't know who's,
that's right.
who
You're right. You're right. Open to the possibility of being a mom.
keep open
You're
to
right.
that possibility
That's
because
right.
there's some people who doesn't have a mom
Right.
and you would make an excellent
Oh,
shoe-in.
thank you. Yeah. So I am a mom. In that sense, I am a mom. I'm got my minister's license and I'm going to marry two really good friends of mine in October. So
Oh,
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Very
that's
wonderful. And
yeah.
you're right. For me, having children was a very healing experience that I had to have. I just didn't know that they were going to be from three different men, different races, and every decade. So I've been driving kids to school for like 30 years when it should have been all in one section, you know?
No shouldas. Don't should on yourself. No
Right. No.
shouldas.
So, but now I'm a free agent. I don't have any
See?
grandchildren.
There
My
you
kids
go.
are all grown adults. And I'm finally starting. Who knew that I was going to do a podcast? So it's opening a whole new world. And I have to say, if something happens to me, I'm getting in a car and driving to Colorado or Arizona to get treatment from you.
I tell you, you got it. I do long distance healing too.
Well, no, I'm coming in person.
Okay, all right, in person. It does feel differently in
We don't
person.
live that far from each other.
It does.
I drove from
No.
Flagstaff to Sebastopol in one day.
Oh my goodness. In one day.
One day. And it felt
That is,
like
oh
I
my
have
God.
something with time, like you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and my girlfriend Kim's a very dear friend of mine. She came with me on this trip. We were going to see one of the 13 indigenous grandmothers, and we spent this time in this little godforsaken place in New Mexico, praying to this rock, doing these amazing little rituals. And then after it was over and whatever, when we were in Flagstaff, I said, all right, it's first thing in the morning. I said, we'll be home at this time. And she said, that's not even possible. But for whatever reason, when I get in my car and I decide the hour I'm going to arrive at the point, it just happens and the time doesn't mean anything in between. And she's my validating testimonial because she's been in the car and seen it happen over and over again. So it was like, and we were home and she said, I can't believe how we did that. It was just like we just rocketed right back to the house. So
Well,
I love driving.
not only am I spoon bender, I'm a time bender. And that's what we do in remote viewing. So I'm a remote viewer. And it's like Gail just said, but we bend time. So when I remote view, I go into the future to see what it is and then bring it back. So I bend time to go look at it and then come back and say, oh, it was this.
I have to say, I want to thank Russell and Dean because when they invited me, same year you almost drowned in 1998, to be a subject in their experiments. And the first experiment was precognitive remote viewing. And I had not been trained as a remote viewer. I learned that I could see into the future. You know, I had done distant healing. I'd done medical diagnosis. I'd had dreams that, you know, were telepath. I've had telepathy. So I've had lots of things that show me these different abilities, but I never knew that I could look into something that had not occurred yet and describe it. And then the picture would be selected automatically, randomly from National Geographic photos. And then there it was. And I'm very grateful to them for teaching me that that was a possible I had no idea of that possibility. And it's truly what you're saying. There is no time, so you can go back, forward, present, wherever you want to go in that space.
And by the way, I did drown. It
Ah,
wasn't a near drowning. I actually drowned.
that's right. It wasn't a near drought. Right. You were
It was near
clinically
death.
dead,
It was a
clinically
near death.
grounded.
I was almost dead, but I was like pre-dead.
By the
But
way,
I was
that's
dead.
my biggest fear
What's that?
is drowning in water.
Oh my God. It was
And so I still don't know how to
Yeah.
swim to this day.
mm,
But I paddle around. And it was only because I ended up with a house with a swimming pool that I kept saying, you have to face your fear. You have to face your
you have
fear.
to face your fear. Yeah.
So I'm in
Yeah,
much better
drowning
place.
was it was very I didn't have any control. It was well, this is if you want to
Truth
know
surrender.
if people are telling you the truth, what happens, what goes through your mind is that, oh, now I know how I'm going to die. Because at that point, there was no getting out of this.
Right.
There was no, I couldn't bend over, I couldn't touch the rope, I couldn't cut anything, I couldn't do anything. And my thought was, now I know how I'm going to die. And it was very, very sobering. It was very like, so
I don't know. You had a lot of laughter and humor at the same time, which I
yeah,
think
I was like,
fire
nothing you can
force
do.
really enjoyed. They said, "Oh, here's one of our happy customers."
Where are they gonna have the funeral? Oh my God, what are they?
She's not pleading. Please don't let me go.
Yes, it was quite an experience.
And this is what I'm finding when I'm interviewing all these different people on these shows here, is that these experiences are pivotal moments
Yeah.
that when they look back the many years later and the many years before, they see the things that led up to them being
Yes.
prepared for the experience,
Yes.
and then the things that the experience prepared for them in the future. So it's a
Right.
great teaching, though some people don't necessarily wake up or have that. Some people can actually just feel, oh, I almost died, I was scared, and that they may not have some. It's not always that they're aware of what goes on.
Right.
So on these notes, I'm wondering if I was going to start to wind us down, but I was wondering what other words of wisdom or anything else that you would love to share with the audience, because you have a lot of wisdom and a lot of degrees behind it.
Degrees, and I can't get out of this.
Well, you have a lot of lifetime of experience and many lifetimes of experience.
Well, I'd like to use you as an example. And my friend Marla Fries, the two of you have taught me a lot about forgiveness. And so in going through life, it's, everybody's got trauma. Everybody has had someone that has hurt them or a life experience. And in saying these words, I know for some people, there have been really traumatic rapes or traumatic deaths. And so I don't mean this lightly in terms of forgiveness, but forgiveness gets you out of jail. It doesn't mean that you erase what happened. It doesn't mean that you let the person that did this off the hook, so to speak. They still have to deal with their consequences. But if you can find it in your heart, just slowly, perhaps, in a linear fashion, without having a near death, to try to open your heart or break open your heart to healing. So whenever I heal people, I know that there's something behind the physical. There's always something behind what's happening. There's layers of complexity that we are as human beings. But the greatest force on earth is love. The greatest healing on earth is love. And you have to find it in your heart. And listen, I had a brother that when I was a teenager came into my room to kill me. And so I understand trauma. I understand, like you said, families that, I also have parts of my family that were destructive, and he was coming to kill me. So I learned to forgive him, and we ended up talking and sharing things before he passed of cancer. But we got to talk about things. And so that healing in your heart will go a long, long way. And again, if I'm a teacher, so if you're not meant to do this by yourself, But if you can find communities or healers, or you can find somebody to help you along the way, if you're having a hard time by yourself, but to try to find love and forgiveness, and to become a loving, compassionate person. And that's the best thing I can tell you. And even in this hard times that we're all going through right now, I know how tough it is for people, but to find the silver lining, or to find the good that can be in something, it's going to help you go a long way in your healing and your humanity.
Absolutely. In fact, when I was on your first show, I felt healed about certain things and about confidence. And I really appreciated your words of wisdom. So I want to thank you so much for being here today. I don't know that this is our last podcast. I think we'll be on the other shows. Exactly. We have more things to do, more spoons and forks to bend.
Yeah, we hardly touched the forks, so we gotta do the forks.
Yes, we'll have to go back for a forks one.
Yes.
And I want to tell our listeners that you'll give me whatever information that'll be on the description if they want to send you an email, or they want to contact in whichever way it is that you offer, whatever this is. And I want to thank the listeners for being here today. I hope they subscribe. I hope they share. I hope they comment. And we'd love to hear from you. I look forward to being together with Donna again, whether it's here or Colorado or Arizona, but I know one of these places is going to happen.
California.
And California, we live in a lovely spot here in Northern California, and we have lots of room for you, and we've got lots of food to feed you, which I will be sending you your banana nut bread, your mulberry jam, and some dried pears.
Oh, so my goodness.
I hope you'll enjoy. And
thank you so much.
Remember, just like today, share your stories, because stories can heal. Thank you, and have a great week.
You.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.